So, 2025 marks the 20th anniversary of Kilchoman.
Yeah, no, it seems a long time ago, 2005. We've come a long way in that time. And I think when we started in 2005, I never imagined we'd be where we are today. And the first few years were a nightmare, an absolute nightmare in terms of running out of money on a constant basis. Coming into work wasn't much fun. And then now we're in a very different place where everything's now working really well, sales are going well, and we can concentrate on building the brand. And it's much more fun now. In the last 15 years, it's been great, and the first 5 years were, as I say, were quite difficult to cope with, but we've come through that, and I think you appreciate the good times much more when you've had some difficult times to cope with.
And as you look back now, back to 2005, up to now, is it all gone to where you thought we might be now?
No, it's gone much further than I ever imagined it would do. I don't think when I started the distillery, I knew there was a move towards premium single malt, but I never imagined when we built the distillery that we'd be in the position now. And you know, it's hugely rewarding that we have got where we are. And I think, look, I mean, I think I was the mad or brave person that took that decision. There were plenty of people in the industry that were understanding that it would be sensible to do it, but clearly the risk was too big for them. And so I'm hugely relieved that we started when we did, and that we've had a bit of a head start on all the other distilleries that have started recently.
And there's a lot of changes happened here at the distillery over those 20 years, and sort of one of those things is the level of casks that we filled back in 2005 and 2006 compared to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, when we first started, we filled 7 casks in 2005, and then for the next year or two, we were filling 7 or 8 casks a week, you know, producing 50,000 litres in 2006. And then every year since then, we've increased production. And that was all to do with the increase in sales and wanting to keep up with the demand that we were creating. And, you know, now we're filling over 100, equivalent 100 bourbon barrels a week, which is staggering, and then we're 24/7, and it's a great position to be in, and we're still growing the business, still developing, still putting up more buildings, and the transformation since 2018-19 is staggering.
And I know the plan was never for, you know, the three of us, your sons, to join you in the business, but is that something that you know, you look back now and sort of pinch yourself?
Look, I mean, as you rightly say, it wasn't the plan. It was never the plan. I just had an idea, and I just went with that idea. And the fact that, you know, the three of you are now involved in the business is hugely rewarding for me. You know, it's about building a legacy now and moving on. I did all the hard work. And you lot have come in and swanned in and taken on a business that is going in the right direction. So you can thank me hugely for all the work I did, all those sleepless nights I had, and you know, just thank me hugely for all I've done to make your life so much easier than it ever would have been.
Top of the list. And to mark our 20th anniversary, you've selected 20 casks, dating back to some of the earliest casks we ever filled back in 2006. And also, you know, I know that being on the farm, the 100% Islay, has always been something that has been huge for you and the distillery. Yeah,
I mean, I think when I started the distillery, it was about having a point of difference, a uniqueness. You know, building a distillery like all the other distilleries wouldn't have been a very sensible idea. And so having it on a working farm and growing some of the barley is what Kilchoman's all about. And I think that is something that everyone works here is hugely proud of. The 100% Islay releases that we do are really about us taking complete control of everything that we've done, from ploughing the fields right the way through to sending the bottles around the world.
So these 4 releases that we've got here, 20 casks selected from 14-year-olds up to 18-year-old, did you have a clear idea about selection of those casks, or was it a case of showcasing some of the earliest? I know in the sherry, the 18-year-old, there's the 40th cask we ever filled.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, once it gets to sort of 12, 14 years of age, you know, the transformation and the maturation is massive. Cask influence really sort of kicks in, and, you know, what we've got here is the, you know, the maturation profile that Jim Swan always told me would work hugely well, you know, bourbon and sherry. And I think when you when you nose and taste these whiskies, you suddenly realise how much influence the casks have on the product. And I think, you know, the 100% Islay has always had this lighter, fruitier style than the commercial malt that we buy, and it's hugely rewarding for us that it has this different profile, this different character to the other releases that we do. So I think what we've got here is just a selection of ex-bourbon maturation and ex-Oloroso sherry that really demonstrate the journey that we've gone on. And I think it proves to me that, you know, what Jim Swan set up in the originally, you know, earlier maturation, so we could get our whiskies out at 3, 4, 5 years of age, and now suddenly the transformation at full maturation is staggering, and it's wonderful to see.
And with the 100% Islay being sherry cask matured, 5 butts selected for that one, we didn't fill a huge amount of sherry cask back in the early days, especially with the 100% Islay, did we? No,
I think the idea was to fill mainly ex-bourbon. That was something Jim felt would work really well. And I'm a great fan of Kilchoman matured in bourbon. It works exceptionally well. It's a bit more difficult to work with sherry, but, you know, when you get it right, the sherry influence brings forward something that's very different, and the balance between the distillate character and the cask maturation, it works really well, and I think that's proven with these particular releases. And you chose to bottle them all at cask strength. Was that always something that you were adamant about doing? Well, I've always said that cask strength is the ultimate way of drinking single malt whiskey, and especially our single malt. You know, even the reduced strength at 46 and 50, you think you've been cheated slightly. So at the full strength, then you're in charge of how you drink it, a little bit of water or straight. So, you know, we're very fortunate that our spirit has this wonderful sort of sweet floral character, and that's transferred into the cask maturation. So, you know, Robin and I spent a bit of time selecting the casks for these releases. We're really very happy with what's come about, and I think though they're going to be very restricted in numbers, they're going to be very well received in the marketplace. And as far as the 4 casks we've got here, we'll start with the 14-year-olds with the Port Ellen malt, yeah. Bourbon cask matured. Yeah. And I think just on the colour and the character, you know, it just shows the depth of quality of these particular first fill bourbons from Buffalo Trace Distillery. You know, it's remarkable how the influence from the cask is really coming through. I mean, you're starting to get these vanilla, butterscotch and caramel characteristics, but the lemon and citrus is still there in the background. It's just a fuller flavour, softer and fruitier. And you don't need any water. I mean, that's staggeringly good. Full flavour, full mouthfeel, and still on the back of the palate, you're getting that salty, briny character, but it's now rounded off with all the influence from the cask it's matured in. So, ex-bourbon, lovely colour, and a strength of, I think, is about, 51.2. In those days, we moved the casks around a lot. We were using warehousing from our neighbours, Bruichladdich, Bowmore, Port Ellen. And that's not really the thing we should be doing. So we lost a bit more from evaporation due to moving them too much. But, you know, that is a beautiful dram at 51.2%. You really don't need you don't need hardly any water with that to really maximise the character. And with the warehousing, it's even more special now that all the casks are here at the distillery. Yeah, I think controlling every aspect of production is something I've always dreamed of doing. And you know, it's like shadow bottled wine. You know, everything is done on site, and that's what we try to do here now. And everything is now matured at the distillery on location, so it means that we can keep an eye on everything that's maturing in them. And I know with the 100% Islay, this is, you know, particularly fond to you, the 100% Islay style that we do, and fully matured in ex-Oloroso sherry butts. So 5 Oloroso sherry butts that you selected, Robin, for this one. Is it harder with the 100% Islay to select the sherry casks? No, I think it's probably slightly easier than the higher peating level at 50. This is at 15, 20 parts per million of phenols, so it's slightly easier because what you're trying to do is balance the cask influence with the Kilchoman characteristics, and that means you need to have some of that smoky, peaty and briny, salty character coming through. But on the nose, you know, immediately I know this is from our own barley because it's lighter, it's fruitier, and it doesn't have that real depth that you get from the commercial 50 parts per million of phenol. So, you know, you get the sort of spicy notes coming through, sort of sherry, spicy, sweet notes, but and so the influence from the smoky, peaty character is coming through, but also the notes of sherry. So you're not getting a sherry bomb, and that it's completely smothered in sherry influence, and you're getting a wonderful balance between the two. And I know I use balance a lot, and you take the mickey out of me for doing that, but it actually, that really works well. And I think that's at 50, that'll be 55%. So slightly higher strength, but again, a few drops of water will allow that to open up, and again, a beautiful dram.
And then, you know, on the last two that we got here, a lot of people might wonder why we haven't got a 20-year-old to mark our 20th anniversary. Not many of those casks around, are there?
And they're not 20 years old yet.
No, they are true.
So we didn't start distilling till the back end of 2005. It was December. December the 14th, we filled 7 casks. You know, like all distilleries who think they can start up a bit earlier, you know, we ran into all sorts of issues with getting equipment working properly. So it was the back end of the year. So they'll be 20 years of age on the 14th of December. But it is our 20th year, and it's a very good excuse to have celebrations and a party to celebrate our 20th year.
So the 15-year-old, again, sherry butts, 5 sherry butts you selected for this.
Yeah, I mean, again, first fill, again, much more colour, depth in this particular release. And I think on the nose, you get that coming through. So you just get a lot bolder style and character to the 100% Islay, which is lighter and fruitier and more delicate. This is just not full on in your face, but it just gives you a lot more depth of influence from the casks we matured in.
No, it's a very different mouthfeel, a lot more weight on the palate.
Huge amount more depth and roundness, but still not quite so prominent as 100% Islay. The salty, briny character is still there, and it's more at the back of the palate than at the front of the palate.
And then 18-year-old, the oldest bottling that we've done, bourbon casks.
Yeah.
Bourbon casks you selected for that, and I think from 2006 as well, so the really early casks that you selected for that. Is that something that you and Robin should have had a clear plan about where you went into the warehouse, or was this a case of?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, I've always said to people who ask me, you know, what's the sweet spot for Kilchoman in terms of maturation, and I actually still believe it's at sort of the 10 to 14 years of age. And as it matures past that, you just get more cask influence. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think what we're always trying to do is make sure that the Islay characteristics shine through and that they're always there and in the present. I think as they get older, you just get more cask influence coming through and less of that salty, briny character. You know, but it's in the eye of the beholder, and I think what you're getting here now is just a massive amount of cask influence. Look at the colour is extraordinary for a bourbon cask maturation at 18 years of age. And it's softer, it's fruitier. The salty, briny character is now submerged into the cask influence. And so when you compare the 14-year-old and the 18-year-old, they're chalk and cheese in terms of the character. Nothing wrong with that. It works really well, but I think if people are asking me what we're trying to create at Kilchoman is an Islay style, and this is now gone past that. But it's a wonderful dram. It has all that sort of fruit and character, the sherry, not the sherry influence, the bourbon influence, the caramel butterscotch, and now that's really coming through beautifully, and it's a wonderful, wonderful dram.